For TV, I am Adebola Adeduba. The top stories at this hour. Gunmen invade community in Nigeria's federal capital, abduct 5 persons. Following removal of Mudashiru Obasa as Speaker, Lagos State House Assembly reschedules plenary amid tight security. South Sudan lifts night curfew imposed in Juba after violent protests. Details shortly. Residents of the Chikakori Hillside Estate in Kubwa district of Abuja say they remain in fear following the abduction of 5 persons from the estate by suspected kidnappers. News Central TV paid a visit to the estate where residents say the abductors forced their way into the residence of the victims, kidnapping a family of 4 with their neighbor during the attack. Our correspondent Joshua Imaray was on ground and now files this report. We'll try to bring you that in the course of the news bulletin. Hearing of the murder case of Salom Adu, a 7-youth corps member at the Abuja headquarters of the National Insurance Company of Nigeria, who was gruesomely murdered by her suspected boyfriend, Timileyin Ajayi, held for the first time in Lafia, Nasarawa State. The suspect, however, pleaded not guilty as he appeared before Justice Simon Aboki of the Nasarawa State High Court in Lafia, the state capital. Our correspondent, Chizoba Anyanwe, tells us more.
Ajayi was arrested on January the 12th after he was caught with the severed head of Salom Adu following claims she had cheated on him. He was subsequently arraigned by the State Police Command on a 1-count charge of culpable homicide, punishable with the death penalty under the Penal Code of Northern Nigeria if found guilty. At the first hearing on Monday, he, however, pleaded not guilty before the court, despite earlier admitting he had committed the crime. Counsel to the accused says he has presented his plea and a date has been set for the hearing.
It's not my place to prove the case. It's my place to defend him. The essence of the work of the defense counsel is to ensure that the prosecution does their own work legally well, which is to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt. So I'm here to make sure that the law is fulfilled as the law demands. He has entered his plea already, so we have taken a day for hearing.
We are optimistic that the justice will be done.
This is a serious matter of national importance, and we are here to see that justice is done.
The case was adjourned to March the 17th through 20th by the trial judge, Justice Simon Aboki. In Lafia, Nasarawa State, for News Central, I am Chizoba Anyanwe.
To address food insecurity and support recovery efforts in northeastern Nigeria, the United Nations World Food Programme and the Borno State government have launched a sustainable food production project in Konduga. Now, the initiative targets nearly 2,000 individuals, including resettled persons and members of the host communities, equipping them with resources and skills to practice sustainable agriculture. News Central's Umaru Kirawa tells us more. We'll try to bring you that in the course of the news bulletin, hopefully. Popular activist Omoniyi has been detained at the police force headquarters in Abuja following his refusal to meet bail conditions provided by the police. Shore was invited by the police to give explanations to a video posted on social media by him, accusing the police of extorting citizens, allegations that did not go well with the leadership of the police. Our correspondent, Amadine Oyi, throws more light.
Major roads leading to the police force headquarters were barricaded by police personnel. The checkpoints caused a minor traffic gridlock as vehicles along the route were stopped and searched. Shortly after, activist Omoniyi appeared and was led into the police force headquarters. After several hours, he, however, was not released as his supporters waited in vain.
They have refused to release him on self-recognizance. They have given an outrageous bail condition, suggesting that Omoniyi should produce a permanent secretary, level 17 officer in the civil service to take him on bail. Even if you commit the crime of terrorism, how can any court impose such a condition for administrative bail?
The hierarchy of the police has personal issues with him. So it's on that basis they are trying to keep him. But I can assure you that Nigerians are watching closely happenings in this place.
Some of his lawyers who had come with the activist say his actions should be described as patriotic and not warrant an invitation from the police.
There is no crime in uploading or exposing corruption.
Expose corruption.
As a matter of fact, when somebody exposes corruption in this country, such a person should be commended. The police should have invited Sowore and tell him thank you for doing a wonderful job by exposing corruption.
They also accused the police of being unprofessional and misusing powers given to them by the state.
Sowore has said that the police are extorting people on the main road. Should the police be a judge in this whole matter? Why don't you, in the interest of fairness, in the interest of equity and justice, why don't you refer this issue to another agency, security agency, maybe like the DSOS or the NSA, and a neutral person? You cannot be the one that is being accused of extorting citizens and still be the investigator, be the one to provide witnesses. What are we talking about? Are we playing in this country?
They urged the police to release the activist on administrative bail, saying the condition mandating Sowore to present a level 17 officer from the Federal Civil Service as surety for his bail is frivolous and unacceptable. In Abuja for News Central, I am Omoniyi.
And now let's bring you the report addressing food insecurity and supporting recovery efforts in northeastern Nigeria by our correspondent Joshua Imaray.
One of the areas was hit by the devastating activities of terrorists in northeast Nigeria is beginning its journey to recovery. Predominantly farmers and fishermen, the people of Konduga are now striving to rebuild their lives. To aid this recovery, the United Nations World Food Programme and the Borno State government have provided farming inputs including solar-powered water pumps, fertilizers, and seeds aimed at supporting sustainable food production. The project aims to transition beneficiaries from dependency on food aid to self-reliance through agricultural production.
What is happening here in Konduga is one, but it cuts across the state. His Excellency's resolve of his administration is to make sure that farmers across the state, beyond the 6,000 households here, can actually benefit, can produce for themselves, their families, and also for the state in Nigeria.
Today marks a significant milestone in our shared journey towards addressing the challenges of displacement, food insecurity, and climate change.
In Konduga, it will support 1,997 households, impacting 9,985 individuals. Altogether, the initiative will reach 6,524 households and 32,620 beneficiaries.
While expressing gratitude for the intervention, some farmers have called for improved security to enable them access larger areas for cultivation.
Muna son in lokacin da kaka yayi gwamnati ta sa hannu amfanin zai haɓaka kuma ko a gwamnati aka saya aka ajiye kaga lokaci aka cire sanin talakawa za su samu sauki.
The hope now is that food availability will increase as resettled communities embrace agriculture as their primary means of livelihood. In Konduga for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Well, thank you, Umaru Kirawa, for that report. It was a waiting game at the Lagos State House Assembly on Monday as expectations for a plenary session were unmet. The legislature had been in the spotlight following the refusal of removed Speaker Mudashiru Obasa to accept the processes that led to his removal, raising concerns about how proceedings would unfold if he attempted to resume. Journalists who gathered at the Assembly complex to monitor the situation waited for hours, only to be informed by Assembly spokesman Stephen Ogundipe that the sitting had been rescheduled. Meanwhile, the Lagos State House Assembly witnessed a leadership change as Mojisola Miranda officially assumed office as Speaker. Her assumption followed the removal of Mudashiru Obasa on January 13th, despite his claim of it being unconstitutional. Obasa was notably absent on Monday as security was tightened to maintain order. Omoluabi progresses, the political party of Rauf Aregbesola, a former governor of Osun State, has announced a decision to quit the All Progressives Congress APC. The decision was reached during a stakeholders meeting in Ilesha, Osun State. Inaugurated in 2023, Sunday's meeting was attended by Aregbesola and other members of the APC faction in the 332 wards of Osun State. In a statement, Abosede Oluwaseun, spokesperson of the group, said members resolved to quit the APC because of what he termed, quote, ostracization from the party, suspension and expulsion of leaders without fair hearing, and continuous denigration of the structure. You're live with News Central TV. After the break, the Cano government reopens garment-making centers, employs 240 residents. Details shortly. Join us again. Thank you for staying tuned. Residents of the Chikakore Hillside Estate in the Kubwa district of Abuja say they remain in fear following the abduction of 5 persons from the estate by suspected kidnappers. News Central TV paid a visit to the estate where residents say the abductors forced their way into the residence of the victims, kidnapping a family of 4 with their neighbor during the attack. We now have our correspondent on standby, and that's Joshua Imaray, to speak more about this. Joshua, good morning. Glad to have you join me. But before then, we'll take this report and then we'll speak to our correspondent.
Memory of the attack on Chikakore Hillside Estate is one he wishes to forget soon. As a security guard for the home targeted by bandits in the Buhari Area Council of Abuja, Kabir says that the incident occurred in the dead of the night. He dismissed the claims by the FCD Police Command, which says that the suspected kidnappers, disguised as members of the local vigilante, as false and a misrepresentation of the true event.
The time that I want to come outside, I just see person, he don't already climb to the gates. And I quickly through to the door. I want to open door, come outside. When I open to the door, and I just see him, he don't already jump to the inside.
How was he dressed? What was he looking like?
He was covering his face.
Really?
Yes.
So what was he holding? What kind of weapon was he holding?
You holding gun for him back like this. You holding gun.
How many were they?
When he was entering inside, you tried to open the small door. When you open the small door, the remaining, you just do hand for them. Make them enter, make them come.
Speaking to a relative at the home where bandits abducted residents, he describes the number of those abducted and still in captivity.
My Oga, his elder brother, my Oga's wife, and one son. The boy is in secondary school. And then one man from here.
The chairman of the estate says that a similar incident had occurred at the suburb 2 years ago and blames the absence of a police station in the area as encouraging the suspects.
We don't have any division apart from a Biazi police station where we have the DPO. And there was a time we built a police post. So after we finished, we are thinking it will be commissioned by giving us policemen. But up till now, the place has been there like that, empty.
For residents of the Chikakore Hillside Estate in the Federal Capital Territory, normalcy has been disrupted. Many see they can no longer sleep with both eyes closed, as the recent incident has brought fear to the entire community. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imaray.
And for context, let's join our correspondent, and that's Joshua Imaray, to speak on this. Joshua, good morning. What more can you tell us about this attack?
Well, good morning, everyone. Well, the situation, the incident that happened in that territory is rather disturbing incident, and now from the trend for residents who are experiencing south of that community. Why am I saying this? Because this is not the first time this is happening. They gave an instance where it happened 2 years ago, where they experienced a light incident in that same domain. And that place particularly is the aspect of Abuja. That is the Cuba community that serves as a boundary to, I think, the United States. But that notwithstanding, that place has experienced the first year. You recall, I showed you back to sometime last year, or beginning of this year rather, where there was an explosion in the Chibili community. That community is a boundary community, it's a Catholic community. These two communities share boundary and are likely to experience the same thing that happened in that area. So now that place is now seeing a trend of such kind of attack and bandit explosion. It is becoming a recurrent issue, and I think that the government needs to postulate the situation and ensure that checks and balances are put in place to ensure that such incidents will not happen again. Because now the absence of a police station in that community is actually an alarming issue for residents who can't sleep with their two eyes closed. They now rely on a local vigilante. You see how the situation has deteriorated for them according to what they say in that community.
Well, Joshua, I wonder, has anyone in authority so far in that community said anything whatsoever regarding this incident?
The only thing we have heard so far is the statement that we got from the SCT, the police command of the SCT, where they issued a first incident statement on what happened. And based on what we heard from the report, there are discrepancies that the police need to address, because this is not the first time it's happening that the police will issue a report or issue a statement, and at the end of the day, it gets to hear differently from the first the people who saw it first, the eyewitnesses, those who witnessed it first, and those who had the real-life experience of how it happened. We've seen discrepancies, and I think the police need to address that, because it is now becoming a trend also, where the police say a thing and we get to see another thing. Like this incident particularly, the police said that the family of 4 was kidnapped and the neighbor injured. But when we got there, we heard from the security guard that the family of 4 was kidnapped, yes, but however, a neighbor was kidnapped also alongside the family of 4 who was kidnapped. What happened was that the neighbor who heard noises from his compound tried eavesdropping and peeping. In the process, he was caught and taken alongside. When they asked who he was, where his house is, he took them to his house and they saw his wife. Guess what happened? His wife was headbutted with the gun. And now the wife is in the Cuba Community Health Center. They are receiving treatment as we speak. So you can see the information gap and some discrepancies and some suspected cases of information distortion is gaining trends, and I think police need to check that also.
Joshua, following the abduction of some residents from this community, I imagine how other community members or residents are taking in all of this. How are they reacting or responding to these incidents?
Well, particularly from my experience, I spoke to a man who has a newly built house in that area also. He told me that his wife is saying they should leave that community as soon as possible. One of the reasons why he's doubting that he's been skeptical about the entire thing is because he has invested all his life resources in that particular house. Now, he's not asking him where he would get money to rent a new house. Just imagine, people can't sleep with their eyes closed. Now, the fear, there's this looming fear of you being abducted before the next morning. Just imagine, for some residents there, this is the situation, and it is actually disturbing. and traumatic, if I may say.
Well, thank you so much for bringing context to this issue. Thank you so much for your reporting as well. Joshua Imaray, our correspondent live in Abuja. Thank you, Joshua, and do stay safe. The Youth Rights Campaign has called on President Bola Tinubu to halt prosecution of peaceful protesters who were arrested during the End Bad Governance protests. The individuals are set to be arraigned at the Federal High Court in Abuja on 29th January, where they will be tried for treason, mutiny, and terrorism. This appeal was made during a press conference organized by the Youth Rights Campaign at the International Press Conference Center in Ogba, Lagos State. Our correspondent, Omoniyi, throws more light.
In August 2024, the country experienced the End Bad Governance protests. The protests were met with heavy crackdown by the authorities, resulting in reported killings and mass arrests of peaceful protesters. While some of the protesters have been released, others remain in detention and will soon appear before Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court in Abuja on treason, mutiny and terrorism charges on the 29th of January 2024. Ahead of the arraignment, members of the Youth Rights Campaign are calling on the presidency to halt the trial of the detained protesters who they allege are being persecuted. The group says this should be done before initiating discussions on modalities for a genuine national conference.
The entire purpose of this press conference is to try and build a momentum around our campaign that has been going on since last year, to ensure that activists, protesters with whom we were out nationwide in August last year, who are now facing treason trial, that we are able to ensure that the Tinubu government realizes that the Nigerian people and the world entirely will not take it lightly.
President Tinubu must halt the sham trial now. DR Michael Lenin and other End Bad Governance activists do not deserve a death sentence for protesting against hunger and hardship.
The rights group believe the youth have the right to protest against the present economic situation while hoping for the change they desire.
We still have the Abuja 11, whom for no reason, no concrete evidence has been brought against them. Their only offense is that they dared to ask the government to do better. And they are facing the possibility of being hung to death.
We're supposed to be operating a democracy in Nigeria. That's what we're supposed to be operating. But right now, it doesn't seem that way, because we cannot come out to freely express our displeasure. Because when we do that, the next thing you do is to send police after us.
While many youth may be deterred to join future protests due to the arrests and killings, others say it is a driving force to participate in peaceful protests to demand an end to hunger and hardship in Nigeria. In Lagos for News Central, I am Omolola Ololade.
About 240 residents of the Kura local government area of Kano State have been employed as the state government reopened its garment-making center. And this was made known by the state governor, Abba Yusuf, as he commissioned the center, saying 120 residents have already been trained. Our correspondent, Imano Bugudu, throws more light.
This garment-making center, according to the Kano State Governor, was established in 44 local government areas of the state during the administration of former Governor Rabiu Kwankwaso. However, the centers were abandoned by the successive administration, leading to their collapse and a loss of job opportunities for many.
Somebody by his left. Maybe some of you might guess who I was talking about. Telling him, please allow me to commission those garments. You did an excellent job. If you commission them, I don't have anything to commission. Please allow me to commission. And Senator Rabi Musa said, okay, Commissioner Works, stop worrying yourself. Somebody who is taking over from me, by the grace of God, will commission them, will add what we did not do. That it will now become an elephant job. He will, that person who is entrusted will not commission it. I have been vindicated. 8 years after, nothing was done. The clusters were left so unfortunately the government that took over abandoned this important project, leading to the vandalization and theft of several of these critical items from these garment industries.
The governor called on the beneficiaries and community members to maintain the facilities and ensure the sustainability of the program. The government says that the beneficiaries will also receive special training on entrepreneurship and further grouped into a cooperative society. In Cano for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
Lawmakers in Nigeria's House of Representatives have criticized the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative over presenting repeated line items in its budget proposal. This was as the agency was quizzed over its proposed estimate for welfare for stakeholders amounting to about 32.5 million naira. Our correspondent, Idong Joseph, throws light on this.
Appearing before the House of Representatives Committee on Petroleum Resources Upstream are officials of Nigeria Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, aiming to defend the sum of 6.5 billion naira as its budget proposal for the year 2025. This includes 1.7 billion naira for overhead costs, 2.2 billion naira for capital expenditures, and another 2.2 billion naira for personnel costs.
The breakdown from page 29, we are projecting for local training and transport, including training, 97.5 million. For local travels, 80.5 million.
Lawmakers expressed their displeasure with NATI, citing specific line items that have repeatedly appeared in its annual budgets, accusing the agency of a lack of clarity in many areas.
Here I can see other maintenance services, 12 million point something. What is that? What exactly is that? It's not specified.
And then you look at the shredding machine. The highest you get is about 240K. And then you want to spend 6 million, you are buying about 25 pieces.
One specific line item that the lawmakers saw questionable was the proposed estimate of 32.5 million naira, which the agency says is for welfare. Lawmakers criticized the proposal, questioning why the name of the parliament was included among its proposed beneficiaries.
For the past 2 years that we have been in charge of this committee, we've never even been to NATI for any practical oversight. I don't know whether members were there on private level. We were not there. Then why will you now be bold to write in black and white that, oh, you have welfare packages for stakeholders in which you wrote the name of the National Assembly?
With over 6.5 billion naira proposed for NATI in 2025, the committee remains unconvinced about the legitimacy of many line items, demanding their justification. They urged the NATI to demonstrate fiscal transparency and accountability. In Abuja for News Central, I am Idong Joseph.
The shortage of teaching staff in primary and secondary schools across Abia State has for years now made basic education more challenging for teachers and school authorities due to increased workload. The situation may have informed the Abia State government announcement that it plans to recruit more teachers in the state. Our correspondent, Chiwe Ugile, has details.
I'm now soliciting
that we should have up to the number of subjects we are being taught in our school.
Across all the primary, junior secondary and senior secondary schools in the state, none has the complete number of teachers they require. As a result, classes end up being merged to manage available staff.
As an individual teaching that kind of ratio, you must make sure you go to every desk by desk, student per student, making sure even the dull ones pick up with what you're doing.
The situation is even more precarious when those affected are in the examination classes. Victor Okama, like his classmates, is preparing for his senior secondary school examination, which comes up in a few months' time.
We don't have teacher for computer studies, mathematics, because...
As if the scarcity of teachers is not enough worry for the students in the examination class, they are also overpopulated.
It's not very... Some of our teachers are carrying very heavy loads that they're not supposed to carry.
The national policy on education stipulates a 1:35 teacher-pupils ratio for primary schools and 1:40 teacher-student ratio for secondary schools.
We were 13. They removed 5. We remain 7. And now, the 7 teachers cannot cover the 15 subjects.
Some of the students confirm they are missing out on learning, with some resorting to taking extra lessons outside the school.
Not all of us knows maths, so we need a teacher that will teach us maths.
I do go for computer lessons, and I ask for my other brothers to help me at home.
Our Nebo Secondary Technical School in Ikwana local government area is a technical school. However, it has no single equipment, neither does it have a workshop.
It will affect them because they don't have the foundation, they don't have the background of anything technical.
The Abia state government has said it is now ready to inject more teachers into the basic and post-basic education.
To enhance the teaching of mathematics. Mathematics, we know, is very basic and central to the realization of the STEM subjects.
While the teaching intervention in mathematics is commendable, there is no gainsaying that it will only yield positive results if there are enough teachers to teach this subject in schools. In Omaha for News Central, I am Chinwe Ugeli.
The European Union has pledged to strengthen its partnership with Nigeria in a bid to impact the public. Now, the new head of the delegation of the EU to Nigeria and ECOWAS made this known as he met with media representatives in Abuja, saying that there is a need to take the existing partnership to greater height. He says the EU aims to be Nigeria's strong and reliable partner, supporting the nation in times of need and helping to achieve its developmental aspirations.
My mission, in a nutshell, for the next few years, I would say, I will sum it up saying that it is to bring the EU-Nigeria partnership to a higher level, and with one goal, which is to positively impact the Nigerian population. And as I told His Excellency the President during the credential ceremony, in uncertain times, in a fast evolving world as today, you need constant and faithful partner on whom you know you can count. And the EU is and wants to be this for Nigeria, and we feel that the reciprocity is true, and we see Nigeria as a key partner and a major player in Africa and in the world, and growingly so over the next few years. And so my mission, or rather our mission, because it is a teamwork, in fact, is to propose and implement the decisions made by our leaders to strengthen our partnership.
Coming up, United Nations staff evacuated from Goma to Kigali. Details shortly. Join us again. Thank you for staying tuned. United Nations staff and their families have arrived safely in Kigali, Rwanda, after being evacuated from the besieged city of Goma in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. The evacuation comes after clashes in the region left at least 17 people dead and nearly 370 people injured. The situation in Goma remains volatile, with reports of ongoing fighting between rival groups. The UN has condemned the violence and is working to provide humanitarian assistance to those affected. The evacuation of UN staff and their families is a precautionary measure to ensure their safety. South Sudan has lifted a night curfew imposed earlier this month following violent anti-Sudanese demonstrations in the capital, Juba. Police spokesman John Kasara announced on Monday that a curfew declared on January 17, 2025 by the Inspector General of Police has been lifted. The curfew followed protests that erupted in Juba over reports of clashes in neighboring Sudan, which reportedly left 29 South Sudanese dead. The demonstrations turned violent, with Sudanese-owned businesses looted and widespread anger fueling unrest across the country. Authorities responded by opening fire to disperse crowds and detaining hundreds of looters, while the government imposed the curfew to restore order. U.S. President Donald Trump has called the emergence of China's low-cost AI model, DeepSeek, a wake-up call for American companies. Trump's comments came after DeepSeek caused a remarkable decline in tech shares, with U.S. chip maker NVIDIA losing nearly $600 billion in market value. Now, despite this, Trump believes the shock could be a positive one for Silicon Valley, forcing it to innovate more cheaply. This development comes as Trump announced a $500 billion venture to build AI infrastructure in the U.S., led by SoftBank and OpenAI. The DeepSeek chat box demonstrated capabilities matching those of U.S. AI leaders at a fraction of the cost.
Hopefully, the release of DeepSeek AI from a Chinese company should be a wake-up call for our industries that we need to be laser-focused on competing to win. And in a little while, I'll be signing 4 new executive orders. First is that I'm directing our new Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, who's going to be great, by the way. Thank you for the support. Thank you very much for the support. You really did support him greatly. I think he's going to be fantastic. I know him very well. I think he's going to be fantastic. He's what we need. To immediately begin the construction of a state-of-the-art Iron Dome missile defense shield, which will be able to protect Americans. You know, we protect other countries, but we don't protect ourselves. And I withdrew from the World Health Organization, where we paid $500 million a year, and China paid just $39 million a year, despite a much larger population. How about that?
At least 5 people have been killed and 40 others injured in an accident where a wooden platform collapsed during a religious gathering in Bagpat district, northern India, on Tuesday. The incident occurred at a Jain temple where hundreds of devotees had assembled to offer confectionery. Now, this tragic event highlights the persistent safety issues during major religious gatherings in India, where overcrowding and inadequate infrastructure often contribute to accidents. The collapse in Bagpat follows a history of similar incidents, including a deadly stampede in Uttar Pradesh last year that claimed 121 lives, and a 2016 explosion in Kerala that killed 112 people. Jainism, followed by a small percentage of India's population, teaches non-violence and compassion for all living beings. The accident coincides with the ongoing Kumbh Mela festival in Prayagraj, attracting millions of devotees.
यहाँ पे था बड़ौत में, यहाँ पे 40 लोगों के घायल होने की सूचना है। 20 लोगों को जो है उनका उपचार करके उनको घर भेज दिया गया है और 20 लोगों का भी उपचार हॉस्पिटल में चल रहा है।
अब कोई कैजुअलिटी है मैम?
5 के आसपास की कैजुअलिटी अभी रिपोर्टेड है।
In business, petroleum products marketers are expressing concerns that the instability in petrol prices may lead to epileptic supply of the product. Now, despite the availability of petrol at the Dangote refinery and NNPC depots, marketers are hesitant to lift the product due to the sudden price changes. The Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria stated that marketers are scared of lifting fuel to avoid collateral losses. These developments may lead to epileptic supply of petrol, affecting its availability and affordability in some areas, especially rural communities. Marketers are calling for price stability to ensure a steady supply. Nigeria's equity trading has grown over the last 3 years, reaching 10.82 trillion naira by December 31st of 2024. Domestic investors dominated the market, accounting for 84.02% of total transactions in 2024. Now, foreign investors contributed only 15.98%. The highest monthly transaction occurred in January 2024, with domestic investors accounting for 91.85% of trades. In 2023 and 2022, domestic investors also led the market with 88.52% and 83.68% of total transactions, respectively. Now, the growth in domestic investor participation has driven the expansion of Nigeria's equity market. Mali's government and Barrick Gold will begin negotiations on Tuesday to resolve a dispute over alleged unpaid taxes and a seizure of nearly 3 metric tons of gold worth $250 million from Barrick's Lolo-Guntoko complex. The Canadian mining giant, the world's second-largest gold producer, has temporarily suspended its operations in Mali due to the standoff. Meanwhile, government in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, all controlled by the junta, are renegotiating agreements with gold miners to secure a larger share of revenues as gold prices reach record highs. The situation underscores growing tensions over resources control in gold-rich West Africa. The world of sports draw for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations was held yesterday in Abuja, placing Nigeria's Super Eagles in the same group as Tunisia. The two sides, both heavyweights in African football, will headline what is being dubbed the Group of Strength. Tunisia's reputation as a disciplined and tactical team has fueled discussion on challenges ahead for Nigeria. However, head coach Eric Schell remains confident about his team's prospect. Schell expressed optimism despite Tunisia's formidable track record. The Carthage Eagles, known for their consistency in AFCON tournament, are expected to test Super Eagles' mettle in the group play. The Super Eagles, on the other hand, are looking to reclaim glory and add to their 3 previous AFCON titles. Now, in a post-draw interview, Schell downplayed concerns over facing Tunisia, emphasizing his belief in the squad's quality and preparation.
There is no little team in AFCON. You need to be focused. And I said a few minutes later, I'm focused on my player, on my team, and on March. We need to be focused on the qualifier, the World Cup qualifier, and after that, in October.
Miami Heat forward Jimmy Butler has been suspended indefinitely following a repeated pattern of misconduct, including walking out of practice on Friday. The 35-year-old 6-time NBA All-Star has already faced 2 suspensions this month, missing 9 games. The Heat cited disregard of team rules and conduct detrimental to the team as reasons for the indefinite suspension, which will last no fewer than 5 games. Butler first faced disciplinary action in early January for ongoing issues and missed a team flight later in the month, leading to another suspension. Following the latest news, Butler posted a humorous Instagram clip referencing unemployment, fueling speculation about his future with the team amid trade rumors. And that's all on the news. Let's take a look again at some of the major stories. Gunmen invade community in Nigeria's federal capital, abduct 5 persons. Following removal of Mudashiru Obasa as Speaker, Lagos State House Assembly reschedules plenary amid tight security. We also told you that South Sudan has lifted night curfew imposed in Juba after violent protest. You can watch News Central live on DSTV, channel 422, Star Times, channel 274, Avo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Adibola Adiduba.